And some breaking news when it comes to the Dodgers that Jim Bowden just confirmed that Tyler Glasnow deal looks like it will be done, and he is agreeing to a 5-year, $135 million extension. The deal going through with the Rays was contingent on Glasnow agreeing to that extension. Now that he has, the way that it's working, Glasnow and Manuel Margot will head over there for Ryan Pepio and the outfielder Johnny DeLuca. So that breaking news that we're just coming up with right now as we bring in Matt Snyder and Tyler Glasnow agreeing to the extension with the Dodgers. What does this do for them? And you add them there to that rotation.
Well, they definitely needed to fill out the rotation, so this gives them another arm to throw in there and a top-level arm. When he's healthy and he's right, he has the capability of looking like one of the best pitchers in the majors. He has Cy Young stuff. We're going to see some outings where he strikes out 13 or 14 guys working deep into the game. We've seen that from Tyler Glasnow here, especially last season when he came off the Tommy John surgery. And last year was his first full season coming out the Tommy John surgery. He actually came back in September of 2022. The injury issues are a concern, though. He's been injury-riddled throughout his career. And actually, his career high in innings pitched was last year, and it's 120. So we're not looking at a guy who's shown that he can be an innings eater or a workhorse or work up to 180 to 200 innings a year. He hasn't shown that yet. And with the Dodgers, where their rotation is right now, that's definitely a concern. I think they at least need to add one more guy, maybe even two more guys, because when you look at the rotation, Walker Buehler coming off Tommy John surgery, Bobby Miller only threw 124 in a third innings last year in his rookie season. You don't know how much further he can go. Again, Glasnow 120 innings. You don't know how much further he can go into the season. They need a lot more there with that rotation. But hey, as I said, you could trade for a guy with top flight stuff. You might as well go out and do it if you're the Dodgers. And we knew that the trade was going to be contingent on an extension. So it's not too surprising to see that extension. And I will say, it's a lot more optimistic when you look at this rotation if you go to 2025, because Ohtani will be back. Walker Buehler will be another full year removed from that Tommy John surgery. Glasnow will probably have worked up to around 150 innings. Same with Miller. Now you're looking at a really strong top four. I'm just saying it's a little concerning for 2024 as things stand right now.
So let's look at how things stand right now, because there's a guy out there potentially in the wings that the Dodgers could try to bring in via free agency. That's Yamamoto, the Japanese star pitcher. Where do you think things stand there? Do you think there's a chance he ends up in LA, and how desperately do they need him to bring in?
Oh, there's absolutely a chance that he'll end up with the Dodgers, and that would be an incredible offseason to go out and get him and Glasnow and Shohei Ohtani in one offseason. That would be one of the best we've ever seen. I think the Yankees still are a major, major player here, and ultimately, that's my prediction. I do think he's going to end up with the Yankees, but the Dodgers don't have to sign Yamamoto in order for it to be a successful offseason. There's still Blake Snell out there. There's still Jordan Montgomery out there. They could take a one-year lottery ticket on Lucas Giolito, who grew up in the Los Angeles area, so it would be a bit of a homecoming for him. There are ways that they could fill out this pitching staff. They could even grab some cheap veterans. They could go to the trade market. You could look at Corbin Burns or Shane Bieber on the trade market after they just traded for Glasnow. There are things they can do. I just think that they need to stockpile at least one more arm, and like I said, probably two more rotation arms.
So the Dodgers are throwing out money over there, $700 million to Ohtani, $135 to Glasnow. Who knows what Yamamoto would bring in? It would be a high number, more than 135 likely. When you look at pitching for LA, there's still the question with Clayton Kershaw. What do you think happens with him? Does he return?
Reports indicated yesterday, actually, that he really does want to come back. He had the surgery here. It looks like he's probably going to be out until around August. So maybe the Dodgers decide to bring him back on a one-year deal with a really low average annual value there, but maybe they'll throw some incentives on that. If you're Kershaw at this point, I don't know how much money even matters. Maybe he wants a ring in a full season with a crowd there, because remember, the Dodgers only won in 2020 there with a pandemic-shortened season. And if he got strong in time for the postseason, that would be a really nice addition there. But in terms of for the full season, I don't know how much he really has to offer them to solve that issue of having guys that don't look like they're a sure thing to go 150 to 200 innings.
Personally, when I throw my feelings into this has been enough Dodgers talk. They have enough moves going on. It's too much for my liking because, of course, the Braves, we are still out there. We've made some moves, nothing splashy, but adding in Jared Kelenic and Aaron Bummer in there into the bullpen for the Braves. Are those two pieces enough to keep us atop when you look at, okay, projections for the NL that you would still say Braves #1?
Yeah, I did, actually. I did power rankings last week, and I had the Braves #1 and said the Dodgers. I think a lot of people expected me to have the Dodgers, but look, the Braves didn't have to do that much. They won 104 games. The biggest loss to free agency is Eddie Rosario, along with a few arms from the bullpen. Pitching staff, Bryce Elder has a full year under his belt now, so he's probably going to get better in year 2. They've got Snyder and Fried. You assume you're going to get a full year out of Fried after he was completely ravaged by injuries last year. Charlie Morton can still get it done. That's a good rotation. The offense, again, looks like one of the best in the majors. And I know Kelenic was completely inconsistent to the point that a lot of people called him a bust with the Mariners because he was the main piece they got back in the Robinson Cano and Edwin Diaz trade, but he's still only 24 years old, and he has all-star upside. Maybe things are unlocked here in the move to Atlanta in that kind of a lineup. I still think the Braves are better than the Dodgers as things stand. I think the Dodgers are probably going to be better once we get to the season because Andrew Friedman knows that he needs more pitching and is going to continue to add pitching. But as things stand right now, I still think the Braves are the best team in the National League.
That is what I like to hear. Kelenic even saying himself, he's looking forward to a fresh start. I'm hoping for a fresh start that we can make a deep postseason run out there in Atlanta, but we have a long time until we get to that. More free agents who are still out there for the taking is someone like Cody Bellinger. Where do you think he ends up with the latest with him?
Well, I think that at this point, the Giants are desperate to land a big-time free agent. They continue to whiff. We saw with Aaron Judge, Carlos Correa, they backed out of. They were in on Ohtani to the end. They didn't hit. They're probably going to way overpay for Cody Bellinger. Maybe he takes that deal, but I don't know about a left-hander in AT&T Park unless you're one of the greatest hitters of all time in Barry Bonds. Most lefties don't like hitting there. The Blue Jays could really use somebody in center field to keep George Springer and Dalton Varsho on the corners there and a left-handed bat there to break up Vlad Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette. I would love Cody Bellinger in that lineup. The Cubs surely, at least should, want to bring Bellinger back. So he will have his fair share of suitors here. It's going to just depend on, the money's going to be right with the Giants, but does he want to play there? Is the money going to be right with the Cubs? Are the Blue Jays actually going to go after him? Is somebody else going to jump into the mix there? But it's not going to be long before he gets the biggest payday of his lifetime.
You mentioned the Cubs, and now is the time where I can be in the giving mood and give you a chance to be able to vent, give you a chance to be in your feelings, because I know you are a Cubs fan, and Chicago's been a little bit quiet this offseason. How are you feeling right now, Matt?
Well, Dodgers president of baseball operations, Andrew Friedman, once said that if you're rational about every free agent, you're going to finish third in every free agent sweepstakes. And while the Cubs did land Dansby Swanson late last December, I felt like it was because everybody else was out of the bidding and it was just them and nobody else was with them. I do feel like Jed Hoyer is too rational. And if you continue to be too rational, you're never going to flex those big market muscles the way that the Yankees have, the way that the Dodgers have a lot of times. At some point, you got to be the guy that just says, hey, there's a bunch of middle market teams in here, and we are the Chicago Cubs. We can flex these large market muscles. Let's go get a guy. And if people say we overpay, who cares? This is how they landed John Lester. It's how they landed Jason Hayward. And I know that didn't work out that much specifically with Hayward, but it helped them land Ben Zobrist and John Lackey. And all those guys I just named helped them win the World Series championship in 2016. Hoyer needs to be a little bit more Theo Epstein and a little bit less middle market GM. Otherwise, the Cubs are going to continue to whiff on big-time free agents.
You landed Craig Counsell, though. Is that not enough?
That was a big move, but if you're not going to add to a team that missed the playoffs by one game and had Cody Bellinger and Marcus Stroman go to free agency, that's a half-measure offseason. As we learned in Breaking Bad from the immortal Mike Ehrmantraut, do not do half measures. Half measures do not work. We need a full measure offseason. They need to do more. They need a frontline starting pitcher and at least one big, maybe two big bats.
Keep the hope alive, Matt. Keep dreaming, because one day maybe all those things will come true for you. We thank you so much for your time here talking some baseball. Always is a pleasure. And the free agency train will continue to push on. CBSSports.com, they have a top 10 list of free agents, and some of those guys have already found their homes. And Shohei Ohtani, Aaron Nola, and Eduardo Rodriguez, but still a lot of top-tier talent up there for the taking. We mentioned Cody Bellinger. He is number 3 on that list. Yamamoto, the top pitcher coming over from Japan. He will garner a lot of money likely. So if your team still is in the need of some top-tier talent, there are some guys there for the taking. Go on CBSSports.com if you want to see that entire list.